welcome to another episode of Loving Black with Tory and Teri.
Good evening, we're here.
Yep.
Tory and Teri tonight with you on Loving Black. What a show we have for you guys tonight.
Hey, you know, this show is pretty much dedicated to those guys that were, I want to say tricked by women, but basically were told that the child was theirs and they later found out that it wasn't.
It's about paternity fraud tonight, you guys. We're glad that you're with us. Hope you had a great week. Get ready for this. Honey.
Yep. And, you know, we normally, we don't like to call out certain genders for things, but this is kind of like 2 weeks in a row.
I know, right?
Yeah, remember we had the side chick last week.
I know.
And
the
this
women
week,
are getting a pounding tonight. But
Yep.
hang in there. Hang in there.
So I just want to put out a disclaimer that I love all women, and this is just something that some women do, but not all. So
Yeah.
what do you think about paternity fraud?
You know, the interesting thing is that I've never really had the discussion until we started really working in the mental health field.
Mm-hmm.
And it has really come up because it affects everyone involved.
Yeah.
It affects everybody. And sometimes it could be, an epiphany of a blessed experience because people can draw closer from it, but sometimes it puts in a really big wedge and
Yeah.
a lot of resentment and disappointment and
Actually,
sadness.
it creates a lot of emotional scars.
Yeah.
Because not just the male that's affected, that thinking that this child or children are his, but what else happens is that the children are scarred because they have grown up realizing that, after the fact, realizing that this isn't my father.
Exactly.
So what do I do? Do I cut ties with him, or do I?
But that's why I was saying the beauty of it, because the beauty of it is, then by that time it's a choice.
Yeah.
It's a choice, and it's like, hey, I love you. You are mine.
Yes.
I do claim you. You are mine. You know what I mean? And some of you may have gone through that before, and there is sometimes still the longing, just like there is with people that are adopted, where it's like you always have that question, like
who's? Well, I would assume that they're like, who is my dad?
Exactly. If you are not the father, who is the father?
Exactly.
And then it's like, and where are you? So, I mean, people go through that. People really go through that.
It's very unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. But we're gonna peel back the layers, you guys.
Yeah.
We're gonna go into it. Tonight's guest is phenomenal. He is sought after. He is America's mental health therapist, psychologist.
America's Psychologist.
Doctor. Yes. Are we gonna say the name, or are we gonna?
No, that's something.
We're going to have Dr. Jeff, who is he's the psychologist for the Atlanta Housewives. He's going to be on with us in a little bit, and we're going to have him tonight. He's going to weigh in with us. We're going to do this together, and we're going to do it with you all. So, we got to prepare ourselves.
Yeah, well, I don't, because I'm already...
Well, when I say prepare ourselves, I'm speaking for our crowd, because there's what you don't know. And so getting this information will help you, and it'll maybe something that you could share with somebody else, because it doesn't have to necessarily directly affect you, but everybody knows somebody.
Yeah, it's really, there's a couple of surveys that are out, because they do these surveys every year regarding paternity fraud and who's affected. And this is such a common issue now that it's at the top of some psychologists' list, and as far as trying to heal the hurt from the father that was affected and the children that were affected. So I hate to say it's an epidemic, but it's, wow. I mean, as far as
enough of that going on.
I know, right? But as far as I can remember, I mean, I've seen where women have told guys that the baby was his, because I know a couple people personally. So this really hits home for me. And I know what they went through. I know the financial struggles they went through, trying to, having paid child support, trying to get that money back. And it's weird because there are so many cases where the father has tried to, divest himself from the marriage, and then
they'll still go.
Yeah.
They'll still ask him to.
Well, what he's trying to do is stop paying child support, but some judges actually say no, because this is the only father that this child has known.
Yeah.
We're going to have you continue to pay child support.
Right, because the government doesn't want to.
Exactly.
And so they're like, we got somebody, you're on the hook now. You be the one to do it. Yeah. And it's really unfortunate too, because, I mean, men are just perplexed. They don't know what to do, because when it comes to taking the legal route, again, what we just said, it's like,
So we're going to come back with Dr. Jeff Gardere, and we will be talking about paternity fraud.
Ron Carter Cadillac, Houston's only Cadillac to your door dealer, delivers test drives to your home or office, like the new 2020 XT4 Premium Luxury, only $359 a month, the new 2020 XT5 Premium Luxury Collection, $399 a month, or the first ever 2020 XT6 Premium Luxury Collection, just $499 a month, all for 39 months lease with just $1 down, or purchase and choose 0.9% APR for 60 months plus $1,500 bonus cash. Visit RonCarterCadillac.com.
I'm a Texas voter.
And I plan to vote
by mail-in ballot.
I'm a Texas voter.
And I plan to vote safely in person.
I'm a Texas voter.
And I plan to vote early.
I am a Texas voter.
And I plan to vote safely in person. In this coming election, voters aged 50 plus
will make all the difference.
Will make the difference.
Will make the difference. Will make the difference.
Will make the difference in elections across the state.
So make a plan now.
So you can vote however you choose.
It doesn't matter
where you vote,
how you vote, or who you vote for.
What matters.
What matters.
What matters.
What matters is that you have a plan to vote.
For more information,
head to
aarp.org/tx.
vote.
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 đi bầu cử.
और वोट करना मत भूलिएगा।
Vote.
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 唔該去投票。
In this coming election, voters age 50 plus will make the difference in elections across the state. The time is now to make a plan so you can vote how you choose. In this coming election, eligible voters can vote by mail-in ballot, and all registered voters can vote safely in person early or on voting day. Don't wait, make a plan to vote today. For more voting information, head to aarp.org/tx. I'm Chloe Dow, and I'm a Texas voter.
When it comes to protecting yourself and your partners, all the information out there can be overwhelming. Visit our website. We are a free and confidential service striving to help you stay informed and stay notified. We are committed to a healthy Houston.
Hey, and welcome back to 11 Black with Tory and Teri. Hey, before we left the break, we were talking about paternity fraud, and we were talking about the men that are affected and the children that are affected emotionally after this. Also, when they determine that the child isn't theirs, or they find out that the child isn't theirs, if they're on child support, I know that there's a lot of people that have tried to get off of child support, but they couldn't because their names were on the birth certificate. So it's very, very difficult. Even if you have proof, it's very difficult in determining if a judge is going to let you go scot-free as far as not having to pay any more child support.
Even after the DNA test. I mean, you think with the DNA test, once that comes back conclusive, this is not.
Yep.
And still.
Exactly. And each year over 5,000 paternity claims have come up in the positive in the negative. And what that means is that every year 5,000 men are finding out that their children aren't theirs. 5,000. So we're gonna bring on our guests. You want to do the honors?
Let's do that. We're gonna go in together. We have America's psychologist with us tonight. He has been seen on Fox Soul, CNN, MSNBC. He's the Today Show psychologist, and he's ours too. We have with us now Dr. Jeff. Welcome with us tonight to A-Star TV. Dr. Jeff Gardeire.
Hey, Dr. Jeff.
Hey, pleasure. Good evening to both of you and your incredible audience.
Thank you. It's good to be with you again. We haven't done this for some months. I think it was the beginning of the pandemic.
May.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was May that we last saw
you.
Well, that's on, yeah.
Yep. How you been?
I'm doing well. God is great all the time.
Amen.
Yes,
he is.
I thank you for the great work the two of you are doing and working with so many couples and helping them find happiness. We all deserve to be happy.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
And you know what? Just to piggyback on what you said, God is great all the time, and all the time, God is great. Yes.
He's good all the time.
Yes, he is.
Hey, Dr. Jeff, we're talking about paternity fraud today, as you know. And I was just giving a statistic that each year, 5,000 fathers have proven that through DNA that they're not the fathers of the child or the children. What do you think about that? What do you think about women that, either deliberately do it or not knowing who the actual father is, but pins it on
so
someone?
many questions.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
Well, thank heaven that I have not been in that situation. It's yes, and it's a tragic situation for so many of the dads who are involved in that kind of a problem. But I would tell you that I think there are many reasons that something like this happens. One of those reasons may be a very conscious decision made by a woman in this situation to trick or to lie to this individual who she claims is the father of her child or children. Sometimes it's a tragic situation of where they're not even aware of that. They may have been involved with more than one person at the time, and then it comes out later that the other person is the father. But this is something that hurts the dad, but guess who it hurts even more? And we all know the answer. It hurts the children.
Yeah,
exactly,
it hurts the children.
Exactly. So you know what? Even though, let's say the child doesn't realize it until he or she is an adult, and they come to find out, what do you think emotionally that does to them? Because they looked at this man as their father their entire life, and now all of a sudden they find out that he isn't. So I mean, what do they do? They still have that love for him, or if they just want to go and search for their actual father?
Well, many times what I've seen, and I've been the psychologist on Lauren Lake's paternity court.
That's right. I meant to mention that.
That's right. The great executive producer, David Armour, teamed up with Lauren Lake to do this show that helps so many people determine what the paternity is, because the truth really does set you free.
Yes.
But I think But I think what happens is the children, first and foremost, are angry with the mothers. They feel that the mothers have been disloyal. They feel that the mothers have been dishonest, that the mothers have lied to them. And so the dynamic between the children and the mother is severely harmed. The other thing that I see, and by the way, the mothers are victims in this thing too.
Really?
We need to keep that. We need to keep that front and center, because whether it was intentional or unintentional what the mothers did, they suffer also, whether they suffer with the secret for years to come once they make a decision, or just not knowing eats them up alive. But what I've seen is, as adults, the fathers are absolutely decimated because they've put all of these years in. It's not even about the money, quite honestly. No. It's about the emotional time that they've put in, and they truly love these children. And rarely have I seen the fathers walk away from a child because they found out that biologically the child is not theirs, but they've grown up with this child and they love this child. And so, yes, they continue to see them as their children, but the kids are just devastated, absolutely devastated. The biggest victims of all, because they feel that their whole life has been lived in a lie.
And, you know, it's so unfortunate. As I was talking at the beginning of the show, I know personally 2 gentlemen that were affected by this, and they were so mad. I guess the first thing they could think of was, why would she do this to me? Is there a psychological profile?
That was my question. That was my next question. Is there a psychological profile for a woman that does something like this? Now, me being a former athlete, I've seen a lot of guys get caught up in I'll say an entanglement like that. But what's the makeup of a woman that does this? Is there a diagnosis for it? I mean, what? What do you think, Dr.
Well,
Jav?
As right after you brought me in, I said that, thank goodness that has not happened to me. There was a reason I said that. It's not about, ooh, I'm okay, and everybody else as part of this, well, good luck to you. It's not about that. The reason I brought that up was because I don't have a horse in the race, as they say. I can be purely a therapist, a counselor, a psychologist in looking at women who are involved in these situations from strictly a psychological point of view. Certainly to be involved in this kind of deception, and whether it's an intentional deception in putting someone as the father on a birth certificate and they know it's not the father, or they may have been confused or involved with a few people at the time or two people at the time and, didn't even give it a second thought and they really felt that that was the father. You're dealing with someone perhaps who has had their own challenges in life, who've been challenged spiritually, who perhaps grew up home where their fathers were not present, or where there was domestic violence, or whether there was some severe dysfunction. So be it ever so terrible, there's no place like home. So they enter these relationships with that dysfunction, with that emotional and mental instability, and therefore are at risk for this kind of drama, which ends up really hurting their children and hurting the whole family.
Well, that's that generational curse.
Oh my God!
That we talk about. Oh my God! You know how we do. We always thinking the same stuff. But yeah, that's that perpetuating that generational curse. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. And so I think if we just look at it as, oh, this is a gold digger or someone who's trying to put someone on the hook, the fact that someone would even go in that direction and to live in that kind of dishonesty really does speak to perhaps deeper emotional issues, and not just, oh, this is someone who's trying to get over. You can get over on other people, but you can't get over on yourself and the emotional pain that pushed you into that negativity.
That's why you mentioned earlier that the women that do this, they become victims themselves, even though it's hard for us to believe. But you're right; they're carrying this burden for years, and they see how close the father gets to that child, and then there has to be turmoil going inside of them, and just knowing. But
I would think it also leads to things to suppress it, such as alcoholism and drug abuse, trying to suppress. It's just a domino effect.
Exactly. And we deal with a lot of people. I agree. Yeah, Dr. Jeff. So
yeah, I agree. I agree with Terry on that. That's right. How do you self-medicate living in that kind of lie? But Tory, all of that being said, when the fathers are outraged, when the children are outraged, you can't talk to them about, well, let's look at the psychodynamics of your mom and, or of your wife or your partner, and, that they came from a family dysfunction. And that rage is real. And you have to empathize with that too. But eventually that has to be worked out in a positive way to maintain the sanity. And, as people of religion, we also have to begin looking at forgiveness at some point too. Easier said than done.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to ask next, because this is so deep. It's Friday night. But okay, so let's look at the positive. What's the positives of it? Have you ever seen situations where they turn out to just, there's a feel good about it? I know it's, it's like movies, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking earlier, because if this father has grown so attached to them, if he's a Christian, like Dr. Jeff just mentioned, he may just forgive his wife and, just assume the role. I know it's hard, and I know a lot of people out there are saying, not me. But the thing is that God did put people in positions to do certain things. We don't know if by this happening, that child grows up to be, one of God's servants in some kind of capacity. Right. And they needed that particular male to lead and guide them.
That was modeling and mentoring them towards that. You know what I mean? That's,
exactly.
There can be a silver lining per se. But I wonder too, and I feel for the children, because we're not just talking only children.
Yeah.
So you can have this bunch of children, this litter, if you will.
Yeah.
but you have a family, and it could be a middle child, or it could be, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be, so, I mean, can you imagine that, where everybody else, and then you kind of like the black sheep of the family? I mean, there's a lot of that can happen,
Hey, I'm shifting a little, Dr. Jeff, I'm shifting it just a little bit. So when you're on the paternity court show, do you ever see a situation where the man has had a vasectomy?
Oh.
And, he knows that the wife is lying, but he just hadn't told her? I mean, that's deception on both parts.
Tory, you're something else, man. You from the mind of Tory. No, we haven't had that. What we have seen are men who were told for years by their doctors that due to some abnormality, physical abnormality, that they were not able to have children, and then these miraculous kids come up. And many times the kids are actually theirs biologically. So always get that second opinion from your doctor. But I will say this, because Terry brought up some very fascinating points here. First and foremost, on paternity court, what we've seen is that if a man finds out that the child is not his within the first maybe 3 to 5 years, that man may walk away because he's so angry with the mother. And if there was some sort of psychological issue with her, they weren't in a good place to begin with anyway. Yeah. If it's a situation of where that man has been in that child's life, the child's whole life, what I've seen in 9.9 out of 10 cases, excuse me, is that the father or this person who thought he was the father accepts the child, loves the child, feels so bad for the child because the child is despondent with this truth, but he is able to extend himself and say, it doesn't matter, I am your father. And once again, Terry is right. The silver lining here is sometimes these moms have purposely and sometimes not purposely chosen someone, or someone has been in their life that they felt would have been the better person anyway. They wanted to believe this man is the father because this is the guy who would have done a much better job and did, versus some person who really didn't care. It was a one-night stand, and they knew that person was not responsible. So they even convince themselves the person who they want to be the father is actually the father, even though there's a voice that's saying maybe not.
It's funny.
A lot of this is fantasy.
I know. It's funny you say that because there's an old saying, if you keep saying a lie long enough, you'll believe that it's true.
Wow. I mean, I think a lot of this is based with fear too. It's the fear of being found out, the fear of rejection, the fear of, your rejection, you're going to lose me, you're going to leave me. A lot of this is just holding on and just fear,
That is such a great point.
It's an underlying, it's fear-based.
That is such a great point, because a woman, anybody, if they have a fear of losing this person or destroying their relationship, they're not going to say anything, or they're going to tell you what you want to hear. Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that.
I mean, that fear is crippling. We know this.
Yeah.
In so many instances, and it's an underlying for so many things.
Wow. I did not think of that, but yeah, you're absolutely right. You are. So, hey, we're going to go to commercial break, and when we come back, we have our letter of the day.
Our letter. We get to send our letter and share it with Dr. Jeff. So, yeah.
Yes. So we'll see you guys in a moment.
Be right back.
Have you been injured in an 18-wheeler accident, truck accident, car accident? Was someone texting and ran into the back of you, not paying attention? It doesn't matter what it is. Give me a call, Attorney Willie Powles. We'll fix it today. The number is 281-881-2457. Again, that number is 281-881-2457. We'll fix it today. Call Attorney Willie Powles.
Ron Carter Cadillac, Houston's only Cadillac to your door dealer, delivers test drives to your home or office. Enjoy a $9,500 purchase allowance and own the iconic new 2020 Escalade for only $879 a month with just $1 down and no payments for 120 days. Only at Ron Carter Cadillac, Gulf Freeway, just 2 minutes south of the Beltway. Visit roncartercadillac.com.
When it comes to protecting yourself and your partners, all the information out there can be overwhelming. Visit our website. We are a free and confidential service striving to help you stay informed and stay notified. We are committed to a healthy Houston.
In this coming election, voters 50 plus will make the difference in elections across the state. The time is now to make a plan so you can vote how you choose in this coming election. Eligible voters can vote by mail-in ballot, and all registered voters can vote safely in person early or on voting day. Don't wait, make a plan to vote today. For more voting information, head to aarp.org. I'm Tina Knowles-Lawson, and I'm a proud voter.
And she got the fan. Hey, we're back and we're talking with Dr. Jeff regarding paternity fraud. And we're about to get into the letter of the day.
Oh my gosh, the letter! It's time.
It's time. So we're going to read the letter as we normally do, but then we're going to go into it, okay? So here we go. Dear Tory Teri, my life was shattered when during a recent bout with a kidney illness with my teenage son, we happened to take him to the hospital where it was later determined that he needed a kidney transplant. It was then when the doctor pulled me to the side and told me I wasn't a biological match. He said that with my wife and I blood type, there were no possibilities that this child was mine. Ooh. At first, I thought I didn't hear him correctly, so I asked him to repeat it. I was devastated, but I never said anything to my wife. Fortunately, there was a family match, and it worked out, and our son is better now. And as far as this transgression, I just kept it to myself until I found myself questioning her whereabouts and every move. I was going through her things, not really sure what I was looking for, but I was almost positive that I would find something. Finally, I confronted her with the information and a DNA test that I had run that confirmed that I was not the father. She denied that she had been with anyone else, but after a day or so, she told me that she had cheated, and she wasn't sure of the paternity of the son. I am deeply hurt and wounded by this because I have been a faithful husband and a diligent father. I do not know whether to leave or to stay. How do I get help in this situation? Ooh, that is a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
First of all, he finds out accidentally because their son got sick and they needed a kidney match. And he doesn't state what blood type it was.
I gotta take a sip on this.
I hear you. But I mean, look how he found out. And can you imagine? He doesn't say how long it took him before he told his wife, but it was probably eating him up internally. Remember what Dr. Jeff said about the woman being the victim as well? Mm-hmm. He was probably carrying this for a while because he wanted proof of something before he did the DNA test.
But how about the anxiety? Picture the anxiety that's caused where he's going through her things and he's looking for, because it's just circles.
It's almost like
just going in circles. Your mind's going in circles.
It's almost like when we deal with infidelity issues and we talk about how the woman or the man is just looking through things, trying to find evidence, going through each other's phones.
Not evidence, answers to the questions in their head. They're trying to find answers.
And remember Dr. Nettie told us, stinking thinking. That's stinking thinking. Dr. Jeff, what do you think about the letter?
Well, it brings up a couple of things that we haven't discussed, so I'm so glad that you read the letter. Okay. First and foremost, when there are paternity issues and we're not honest about them, not only does it hurt the kids emotionally, but it can hurt them medically. Because when it comes time for them to get some sort of an organ transplant or in the family, and they don't know what their genetics are.
Yes.
They don't know what proper genetics are. That can be devastating medically as well as psychologically, as we've seen in this particular situation. To the question of this man as to whether he should stay or go, I would give him a third option, and that is to speak to Tory and Teri and get family counseling.
True.
Because she may have made a mistake. She made a mistake in having this affair, but has she ever cheated since that time? Did it happen 5 years ago? Did it happen 10 years ago? Did it happen 20 years ago? Was it a long-term situation? Has she cheated since that time? Is she still seeing that person? Or was it just that one, really bad judgment, hit it and quit it? That being said, it doesn't mean that he has to stay, but what is her motivation now? And can this marriage be saved? It can be, if it can be saved and he can forgive her and she can forgive herself and they can work around the situation with the child, then I would say they should try to keep the marriage going. But it is strictly going to be his choice as to whether he stays or leaves. But I think it's something that must be addressed therapeutically and, of course, spiritually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better ourselves.
I know.
I mean, it's a slippery slope, and it really is. It's a choice.
Yeah.
I
Now,
mean,
Jim, you said a couple of interesting things. One, hashtag hit it and quit it. That's another show. Secondly, you're talking about how devastated the father was or is, and he definitely is. I mean, he's so conflicted right now because the way he ended the letter, it sounded like he's just not sure.
He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, because obviously he loves the child, but what about the wife? So should I stay for the sake of the child, or should I just leave because she deceived me?
You know the thing that just blows me away here?
There's another part to that. Is he still in love with his wife? He may very much still be in love with his wife, and she may be very much in love with him. And it was a very stupid mistake that she made. And, there's no excuse for cheating ever. Yes. But was there a situation of where there was alcoholism on her part or his part, or whether they were very unhappy at the time and since have worked out their issues? So, it is really, the dynamics here are very, very deep, and why it is their choice, but they should never just make the decision, I'm out.
Yeah.
They really should look at what were the precipitating factors that happened in that situation.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree too.
They need to fight for it. They really do need to fight for it and do everything they can to hold it together and then take it from there. But prayer works too.
Yeah, prayer works. But I really think he's cogitating on, again, should I stay or should I leave? And he very well must be in love with his wife or his family and think that they can overcome it. Dr. Jeff, I mention this almost every episode, it seems like, but infidelity is really one of the top three of why people divorce, but people rarely divorce over infidelity. So
that's right. You hear a lot of people say things like, oh, if I ever catch my husband or wife or partner cheating, I'm out, I'm done. And I have to tell you, in many of those cases, even though that declaration has been made, quite often they stay because they are in love. They do want their families. They're not ready to walk away. You're right about that.
And that's why we've been so successful in counseling, because we've been able to help people work their way back to one another. But I can say this, and as a woman, I will say this. I totally feel for the man in the sense when he was saying he was going through her things and all this stuff. Because what it does is when you find out that your spouse, your loved one or whatever has told such a horrific lie, I mean, all of the walls start to crumble, and then you start questioning everything. Like, so is your whole makeup a lie? Your whole personality? Are you somebody else? I mean, the questions that just start to fly. And like I said, it's your mind's going in circles and you're spinning because you're wondering what's truth and what's lie. Everything. down to everything. Like he said, her whereabouts. I'm going to the store. Are you really going to the store? Were you at the store the whole time? I mean, all of that.
And that's one of the things, Dr. Jeff, that we deal with a lot in infidelity counseling, when we're counseling people that have infidelity. So the big thing is their imagination is normally bigger than the actual problem. So they're thinking, they're thinking all these things that, what happened? Is she better than me? Is he better than me? Why did you do this? Am I not pretty enough? Am I not handsome enough? I mean, there's all these questions that go through your mind, and you're trying to, like my wife said earlier, you're trying to find answers. I called it evidence, but she said answers, and that's true. You want an answer. Why? Unfortunately, even if you got an answer, it's not going to be the right answer for you because you're going to keep on wanting to know more. And when we do counseling like that, we help them grow forward instead of remaining there, because as long as they remain in that spot, they're going to always keep coming back to that. And we also put a disclaimer on it. We've had couples that have been going good for 10, 15 years, and then all of a sudden it pops up. The wife may see something that triggers her or remember something, and then that cycle repeats itself all over again. And in order to deal with it, I mean, we have to tell the whoever is the offender, we let them know, hey, there's no, even though you may seem like you're getting a pass on this, you're actually not, because there's no time limit.
There's no timetable
on what she's going through or what he's going through, because it happened to him or it happened to her. So
the triggers, it just resurfaces, and I mean, just as fresh as it just happened.
Exactly.
And it could be years.
Yep.
What do you think about that, Dr. Jeff? You agree?
Yeah, I agree. Look, infidelities are one of the worst things that can happen in a marriage, because it really does sow suspiciousness. And all of a sudden you're living in a twilight zone, because you're like, who am I really married to? How could something like this happen? Who was this individual? Why would they do this to me? What is happening in our marriage? And so for couples who are able to come back from an infidelity, we find that the infidelities, though there's never an excuse for one, if you feel that you have to cheat on your partner, here's some better advice. Either don't do it, number one, or number two, get a divorce. Yeah. But to cheat just does not work, because it really does hurt that marriage. But you can learn a lot from an infidelity. What was missing in the marriage? What were the trigger points in that marriage? What needs to be, what can be created from that really big mistake to make the marriage bulletproof at that point. Mm-hmm. But some people never back from it, and for the rest of that marriage they just do not trust one another. And if you don't have trust in a marriage, you really have nothing.
Exactly.
Nothing
That's
at all.
it. You said it. You said a mouthful. That's so true.
Yep. And baby, we deal so much with people that have been cheated on, and they have these walls that we have to break through and penetrate. And Dr. Jeff, every time we do that, even the very smallest victories with a piece of that wall coming down, we see some relief on their faces.
And we celebrate it with them too, because we say, let's celebrate the small steps one at a time. Yeah. It's a big walk. So each step, we celebrate it with them, and we acknowledge it when we see it, don't we?
Exactly. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, because it is conquering the devil at that particular point. So that is all celebration. Less of us and more of him. And I'm talking about God.
Yeah,
exactly. Thank
absolutely.
you for that. Hey, you know what? Dr. Jeff, you always know I like to put a little twist on it, right? So what about the man that suspects that the child isn't his, and he, not deceptively, but he just wants to know and pull a hair sample or a mouth sample, saliva test or whatever, and comes back and find out that the child isn't his? Is he being deceptive by not saying anything to the wife, but trying to find this information out on his own?
Two wrongs don't make a right.
That's my point.
And so if you suspect that the child is not yours, instead of doing something on the secret, I think it's more important that you go right to the source, go to the partner, go to the wife, and find out what you believe may be going on and make a decision together. I saw something on YouTube where a person actually did a secret test and then confronted his wife on YouTube. I don't know how real it may have been. It confronted his wife on YouTube. And so you can imagine how devastating that was to the relationship. But can you imagine the child who may have seen this?
Oh,
So,
yeah, to have it on tape? I mean, it's there forever.
Yeah, well, not just that. Dr. Jeff, as you know, hurt people hurt people. So
that's correct.
He wanted to hurt her.
Yeah, that was
so
vindication. He was trying to,
exactly. But they don't think about the children. And I haven't written a book yet by myself because we're getting ready to write one. But I think my first book is going to be about the dysfunction of families, because we deal with so many people, and every single one, not a one, comes through to us that haven't had some type of childhood trauma, whether it been the abuse, mental abuse, verbal abuse, molestation, rape. Every single one of our clients have been through something as a child, and it just keeps, like I said earlier, it perpetuates. It just keeps going on and on and on. And when does it stop?
The breakthroughs, they're real. The breakthroughs are real. And I believe that the counseling is where it stops. I mean, promoting it, like Dr. Jeff, ourselves, when you know, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to your family. You owe it to, generations and legacies. And I mean, just lineage, period. You owe it to yourself, though, to give yourself the best opportunity at mental health, to just have some joy. Because look at the years that just compounds of just the weight, the heaviness, the despair.
But
There's got to be a lot of despair.
I think it's all about dysfunction because
exactly
they're learning from their parents' marriage, how to be a father, how to be a mother, how to be anything, a husband. It doesn't matter. We have to stop it. When you said it at first, we have to stop it through our counseling.
Yeah, I mean, you have to choose it for yourselves. You have to want it. You have to want joy. You have to want mental health. You want a full mental healthy, lifestyle and just a life. I mean, even being happy with who you see when you look at yourself in the mirror. Yeah. Be happy at that face that you wash each day, And exactly. I think with that, because that's where love and all that originates. We have to love ourselves first before we can give love. That's to a mate, to a child, to family members, to friends, all of that, who we are in our communities. Yeah. And so I think that we need to feed our mental health and, ourselves as far as it's positive things to eradicate anything that's, destructive going forward, as well as to just create a new normal, a new life.
And that's what it is.
That's
a new
fully
normal,
in Christ.
A new normal. Hey, I have another question about the actual letter. So he said the doctor pulled him aside to tell him. My thing is that appropriate bedside manner, so to speak?
I don't know, but I bet at that moment it was, it was a divine appointment. It's like, hey, I need to tell the conscience of the doctor had to be moved. You know what I mean? That's a good question.
What about if that guy was so outraged at that moment and he just went after his wife? That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that could have been very,
that could have been for that to even occur there.
Yeah, because he didn't really know the character of who the man that he was sharing this with. So that was a dice roll. I mean, it was a Russian roulette, actually.
Yeah. I don't know what the physician could have been thinking of.
You know what? He could have been, but that goes to show you. He could have been, he took it, that was a personal choice that was not medical.
And
that was, as far as the privacy of the patient and the HIPAA and all that. But, the husband.
Well, you know what I was thinking on that?
The husband was assigned to have information about it. I'm sure
what I was thinking on that is that, kind of along your same line of thought, this doctor has seen it before several times, and he, through his experience, that's why he came to the father and said, hey, this isn't your child.
Well, but and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just thought about it when you said that, because at first I was thinking as far as her signing, but remember, they're both the parents of this child, so he wasn't in the wrong. He's able to disclose things about this child to the parent.
But again, he didn't know the psychological makeup
No,
of that
he didn't.
father.
No, he
and
didn't.
He didn't know if that father was just going to become enraged.
He didn't know if
at
he
that
was going
point.
to show him crazy.
Exactly. What do you think, Dr. Jeff?
Well, I have to agree with you on that. I'm not sure about the ethics of that since I am not a physician. I guess that's something that I would, my wife who's a physician, that would be a great question for her.
Mm-hmm.
But I will tell you that we also have to look at who was the patient there. Was it the dad himself or the supposed dad? And so that plays into that too. But the point that you made is a very good one. Was there any time spent with this man to determine what his psychological state of being was before releasing that information? But again, I have to just be honest with you. This is what we advise parents. If you don't know the answer to a question, just say you don't know.
Yes.
And on this one, I would have to say, I just don't know. But it's something I'm going to explore, and I'll send you that answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, amen.
Amen. So were there any other points of that letter that made you go, huh?
Well, first of all, I'm very proud of this man that he was able to share this to you in a letter, knowing that you would be sharing it with so many other people, and that's using his experience in order to help other people. Mm-hmm. So the point to be made here is if there is a question about paternity or you know something about the paternity and you're not telling the truth, please bring in your family together, sit down and begin addressing what truly needs to be said and what the truth is, because the truth will come out at some point, whether it's in during someone's life or when someone is on their deathbed.
Yeah, wow, that says a lot. Again,
How do you come back from this? I mean, have you seen people? Because you really put it out there, Dr. Jeff. You said have the conversation, get your counseling, get your family counseling, so that you guys are all, that you're all working on this simultaneously and together as one unit, as one body. And then spiritual, you guys, we got to throw that in there. It's not just the counseling, but you've got to start worshiping together. You've got to ask for forgiveness together. I mean, it's got to be a whole cleansing that happens throughout the whole family. I think that it should not just be isolated to husband and wife. I think the kids, everybody, even the siblings of this child, everyone needs to come together as a village to work on this family unit. I mean, would you agree, honey?
I agree, but you said siblings, and wow, what if the whole family wasn't this guy's, children? I mean, it's so much to this. And again, me being from where I come from, that was kind of commonplace, right? And I'm not defending it or anything, and I'm not even a woman. But the thing is that why keep perpetuating this thing? Why, some women, and I'd already put my disclaimer out there. I love women. I'm not talking about them. I'm not throwing them under the bus, but I'm talking about those that actively and deceptively and deliberately deceive the other person.
I understand what you're saying, honey, because we have studied this obviously because of our field and and our craft, but and our calling. But I wasn't familiar with it either. This is not something that I was familiar with. So when we were going to do this, we got this letter. I was like, ooh. I got to read a little, because I don't know it personally like that. And I can't even imagine, except for what, we would deal with in counseling and the clients, and of course feeling their emotions because we have this empathy. Mm-hmm. But this is really loaded. Yeah. And I mean, infidelity itself can break people, just infidelity. So the fact that you pack it with, a child and years of deceit. I mean, it takes a real strong family, a real strong body in Christ, because that's what it'd be, the family, and it's not just one. It takes a very strong one to get through this. And we would want to hear from you too. If you're like, hey, that's been our story, we would love to do a follow-up with this. And have Dr. Jeff join us again with this, because we would love to hear someone give a testimony and receive a breakthrough through this, because it can be done. It can.
I mentioned this earlier about the guy deciding if he's going to leave or stay. And I really honestly believe that he's going to stay within the marriage. One, because of the experience that we have in seeing these types of cases. But two, he was so conflicted. I mean, he needs to receive counseling just as much as that woman, or just as much as the children. He needs to receive counseling because, like you always talk about women knowing their value or knowing their worth. Having said that, what about a guy? We want respect. So we've lost all respect. We've lost all trust in this woman. So how do we get it back? And
that's a good question too.
Yeah. So how do we get it back? Do we get it back by, getting her back?
No,
and feeling
never.
vindictive?
Two wrongs don't make a right. We were just talking about that.
Yeah. And even though Dr. Jeff mentioned one YouTube video, there are several out there that we've seen. And I really don't think that putting the other person on the spot like that globally is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So those of you that are listening, just take this advice. Hurt people. And the reason being is because they don't know how to express what's going on to them. So in that, you have to receive counseling. You have to receive the word in Christ in order for you to kind of come down a little bit, because we've all had things that have happened to us that, whether they were childhood traumas or things that happened to us in our adulthood that affect the way that we are.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about a mindset change as well. If he's going to stay in that relationship, he has to change his mindset and start thinking, okay, I know she did this. We received counseling for this. She's better now. I'm better now. But again, it's a mindset change. People, they get so much caught up in their feelings. They get so much caught up in being angry that they can't think of anything else. It's like that proverbial message of can't see the forest for all the trees. They're in the thick of it and they don't know how to get out of it. Get help. We're not just saying this to pump up our counseling business, but you have to receive help because you're a victim in this. And you have to know that being a victim, you're not responsible for any of this.
Yeah, and you've got to take care of yourself. Self-care is a lot. Dr. Jeff, are you still with us?
Absolutely.
Hey, question. Do they have support groups for something like that? I mean, I would wonder if there are support groups for, people that have been deceived in these paternity suits.
I don't know if there are, but certainly this is something that I think people now, in watching the show this evening, if they've been through this, it's a great idea to start an online support group. Of course, make sure that you have professional guidance with something that is explosive and that the people who are involved have been properly screened. But this could be an opportunity for people not necessarily to complain about how they've been wronged, but to begin finding the empowerment strategies that have worked for them, that have gotten them from this place of infinite hurt to a place of healing.
Yes.
Wow.
I love it. I love it.
We love it.
And we love you.
Love you too, Dr. Jeff. We love you too.
I'm so glad that you were able to join us tonight. We send so much love to you and your family.
Yes.
Stay safe, of course, during this time. We're getting ready to come up on the holidays, so let's just start focusing on that. We just want you guys to be well, and we thank you. You must join us again. We will be calling upon you.
Yep.
Absolutely. Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll
hey,
see you
want to
soon.
tell people, I don't know if you're seeing patients or you just going on these worldwide tours that you do at these different programs.
Give them your information.
Yes, traveling worldwide from my computer during COVID-19. Certainly people can find me at Dr. Jeff Gardeire, DrJeffGardere, or drjeffgardeire.com, DrJeffGardere.com. And certainly they can reach out to the two of you if they need to contact me. So absolutely no problem. I am there. Of course, I'm working with people. That is the mission, as God has given you, has shared with me too. So we continue to do his work.
Thank you. Thank you. We love you. Have a wonderful weekend, you all. Have a good night. Keep your love in the black. Mwah. Bye.
We'll see you next Friday night.